Hello and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, otherwise known as Captain Saiban 1 and 2. So we are going to continue with Great Ace Attorney 2, The Resolve, and the first part of the trial. There are two parts, but we're going to see how far we can get in the first half anyway. And then later on, if it's too long, we'll do the second half. October 23rd, 8:52 a.m. Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Mr. Naruhodo! Good morning, Professor Hairbrain. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every day. I feel it every time I'm in here. Gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? I think it's probably all in the mind. Yes. Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial. To save my life! To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public! Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with a most tiresome case here. Mr. Soames! I didn't expect to see you here.
That was very mean, Bruno, leaving me alone at home with Harley. Took me at least an hour to wake him. Are you...
Sherlock Soames? Indeed, sir, I am here. Sherlock Soames! Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany.
Ah, yes. And magazines on sale in Germany, too.
This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in the Adventure of Silverblaze was wonderful. Ah, yes. Memorable case, indeed. Concerned the snake, I seem to recall.
And that was a speckled man.
Shut up. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Huh. I have urgent business at Madame Tisbeth's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter would be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description.
Oh, but you must absolutely give it your full attention, Harley.
Quite, Iris, quite. But life's riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. Ha! Yes, quite, definitely, absolutely, I totally understand. Starstruck. I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Hairbrain. Why, thank you. Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, word in your ear, please. What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implement such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition is quite possible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he firmly believes it was.
I read Professor Puddingbrain's paper bag too, Bruno, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It can barely be done theoretically, let alone practically.
So he's completely barking up the wrong tree. But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial. What's that supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow.
See you later, Harry. Well, looks like you're on your own today, Bruno. But chin up, you can do it.
Oh, what about you, Iris?
I know, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do.
I see.
Could be big surprise for you when you find out what it is.
Ah, it sounds harsh. Counsel for defense and defendant. Court's about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once. Run away. An experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you had to unlock here, Muskie. That's the key to this case. (9:10) Old Bailey Courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Hairbrain. I now call upon the counsels for prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Prosecution is granted. defense is... The defense is ready, my lord. 6 months out of practice and what's wrong? No without Susato today. It's just my imagination, or does the air need to feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odial's. Mr. Osman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court, prosecuted by you, Judgment Six. But EJ unanimously found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. For 2 days, on October 21st, Mr. Osmond enters in. Oh, I could read proposals. If that is how your lordship would describe it, divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Osmond's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Hargrave. Very well. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury who have been selected at random to represent the will of the people, are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I am most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord.
You have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Gosh. Oh god, if it was just that last
Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Any spurious scholar that defies the reputation of science deserves to hang.
Now, let's listen to what said alongside the sense and let's settle along the data session listen.
Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
That's
The police killer honor mode like again. He's as exhausted as ever, it seems. As I'm sure you're all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. Or the death toll could have been far less, with the exception of the victim, no one cute. Nevertheless, the dream of science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. Charged and events, not such the eyes of all London known, of the whole world would be on the trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Vances. At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. Out of science, latest developments are taken. The government's keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis teleportation. Oh Lord!
You
is designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. Mega Man teleportation. Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure.
They're disassembling people with electricity. My goodness, how shocking.
Her ideas absurd. Hypotheses would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field. I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis poppycock!
So this expert and Mr. Solms are in agreement. It's impossible.
What is the prosecution feel, Martin? The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. What? What rot? Order! Order! The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Osmond's life in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim. Thank you, Lord Van Vliet. The prosecution stands as clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims. My lord. Bailiff! Show the first witnesses to the stand! Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector, Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation.
Albert Harebrain, scientist.
You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany, made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypotheses at the Great Exhibition.
What you demonstrated was incredible, right? An incredible explosion.
But the science was success.
Wait. Slow the fuck down. I didn't press any button yet. But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. God damn it, I didn't press anything. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, that was a terrible explosion. That was a terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success. Well, that much is undeniable. are shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, Jacob. The centerpiece of the exhibition of it. That's right, my lord. Seeing the victim rammed straight into it. I see. Very well, submit the photograph as evidence. Damn it. Stop. Damn it. Stop. We have the photograph. A print of the victim taken after he had ostensibly been beamed to the Crystal Tower. Shows an apparent stab wound to the chest. And go ahead. The victim of the incident was Mr. Odie Osmond. There have been a number of allegations made against the man. Putting them aside for Tom Bank. Yes, I'm actually doing this because right now it's starting to piss me off. There have been a number of allegations made against the man. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, A was the man who financed the research for the experiment and demonstration itself. I see. To summarize the situation, the defendant's accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? Exactly. But could it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right! That must be my splendid machine! My poor splendid machine! You saw it yesterday, didn't you? They can't even examine the records thanks to the special dispensation for scientific equipment, huh? What? The wreckage! The wreckage! But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or deliberate and malicious? Extremely simply, my lord. I beg pardon? Isn't that right, witness? What? Sorry, me? Oh, you were in the midst of it. No, you're never. Yes, sir. What's the matter? Plain simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty. What? How could you possibly think that? Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been for front. You explain to the court what grounds you claim this experiment have been a front for murder. You will explain why this controller wants to act like an ass. As I am currently trying to get through this in one fell swoop. The joys of
pre-recording. Testimony for murder. The corpse that went crashing through the crystal tower had a broken neck.
I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam protection. That's all. That was my mistake.
But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury. Fatal wound. And that was a lesion in the chest where he had clearly been stabbed by something sharp. Rotten off. Said the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it. Extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart.
The information I would really like to have heard from other than the judge.
Coroner says death would have been all but instant from a wound like that.
You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused.
No! That couldn't be further from the truth.
I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. Victim stood himself inside something called the birdcage, ready to be beamed easily. To the second level of the crystal tower, about 25 yards away. Then the experiment did not go according to plan. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in mid-air, from where it subsequently fell crashing into the glass of the crystal tower's large round window. As soon as the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower, then...
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident. A terrible accident.
Unfortunately, that excuse cannot save you. No, not concerning the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart.
The murder weapon? What are you saying?
This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution will like it entered into the court record. Your request is granted, counsel. And we get the autopsy report. I was that person, you know. Saw the whole ludicrous performance. The only other person on the stage with Miss Osmond was that disgraceful, excuseful scientist.
Maybe by all accounts, he must have been here.
Hard to take up on lies, really. Very well, counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord.
I need to focus here. It's been a while. One, two, three, four.
The defense knew nothing of this crucial information.
prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we know of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense.
Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks.
So, what was the nature of this sharp object?
Among the accused tools that were in use at the demonstration and of particular interest. This.
Ah, yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver. One...
There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew!
Andrew. Andrew. Of course.
Do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family.
Oh.
Andrew's my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael's Prosit.
Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank.
Ah! That is...
It's blood. Beyond our reasonable doubt.
No.
And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound.
Oh. What?!
Order! Order! The court will enter this fandom. The defendant has evidence.
Of course, the screwdriver. So, one of Professor Hairbrain's tools, the murder weapon. Great. What grounds do you have for saying that?
Ha! Do you really need to ask? There were only two people in that public experiment stage in front of the whole crowd.
The victim and Mr. Oldie Osmond and the accused Professor Hairbrain. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive.
That's right! I saw them my own eyes!
Furthermore, following the explosion and kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body.
In other words, only someone else to stake.
With the victim could possibly have done it. You? Professor Hairbrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor? Sorry! I was calculating the optimum coefficient of electro... Let me try and say this, please. I was just calculating the optimum coefficient of electricity to separate molecules in the human body. And the witness stand is the best place for that? It seems as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right, of course! He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's wrong, dude. Ash could have stopped the victim, right?
I don't know, but... There's no way I could have possibly stabbed Mr. Osmond, as you say.
Yeah.
Explain, please, Professor. Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins. Then surely you see, if I plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath, no, a blood-swimming pool. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood.
Well, that's well.
You see? Not one!
True, I didn't see anything like that.
Well done, Professor. That's a great counter-argument.
Order! Order!
I can go for a drink. Pray forgive the discourtesy if I have a drop from my hollow chalice to accompany my old friend's adduction. One, here's to you, Albert.
Ha! Oh, you're too kind, Barack. But I'm really not a patch on you.
No, you're not.
No? Huh?
You neglected to mention one crucial possibility.
I have.
A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound.
Oh, goals.
Inspector, in line to the court, please.
Yes, sir.
Where are they going with us?
Very well, you will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson. The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body while he was beamed through the air.
You mean this, sir? Last statement would seem to be at odds somehow with the evidence.
So task counsel to explain this somehow to the court, not the other way around.
This seems to jar the others.
What I think is that this whole exchange has been extremely jarring here.
Perhaps I need to reconsider this.
Okay. The weapons the victim was stabbed have been... So that's all the testimony I have to work with. And no idea the victim had been stabbed, that changes everything. Defense seeks to keep that to himself until now on purpose, to gain advantage. Oh well, I suppose all I can do is press these witnesses for as much new information as possible. Why would you think that, Inspector?
With any wound, it's only when you pull the weapon out that profuse bleeding occurs. Still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word.
I see.
You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator.
What's so subtle when you need her?
Just made this bloke ask what he was doing from view with his body before stabbing Osmond in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off stage with a fancy device, screwdriver where he planted it.
I would never do such a thing! Not to my precious tool! I would never use them for such dirty work! You only use tools for their intended purpose. That's common knowledge for any scientist.
The fact remains, the lack of blood at the scene can be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated. So that's all to This is blood. Mr. Osmond. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine. Which could be more important information. So I should definitely make note of it. A metal screwdriver that was found poking through the grill on the base of what remains of the kinesis machine. It has very distinctive handle. That's what I forgot to do. You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. I forgot to examine it. Is that unequivocal? Yeah, there was no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world. Yes, but about this screwdriver. The thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. What? It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Wait, now you come to mention it, yes.
Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravene the special dispensation for scientific equipment act?
No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. I just didn't look, nothing more. I was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing.
Yes, that's true. This screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it?
What are you getting at?
If this tool had been in the victim's body when the victim was being weighed by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. Oh! That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Osmond. And been found still lodged in the victim's chest.
you explain this, Inspector? All day.
It looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously that should have been beamed to the destination as well. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution's unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Six stomachs? Huh? Do you have something to say, witness?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mr. Naruto, do not worry! About what? Without delving into details, there is no inconsistency. What? Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Osmond's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on stage is consistent with my calculations. What? What?
Fuck the bottle. It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation.
Just where I found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists. Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord.
To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states that kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon cannot. My hypothesis states that kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruto isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Osmond was the patron of my research. Without him, my work would have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. Okay.
Now. So, the thrust of your testimony, professors,
that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis.
in other words,
In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage despite the victim being found elsewhere is not an inconsistency.
and therefore,
And therefore Professor Albert Habrain could still have been the killer.
My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason.
I was not addressing you, witness.
Professor Harebrain,
Yes?
whose side are you on here?
I don't take sides, Mr. Naruto. No, no, no! My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I am a scientist, after all.
Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let us see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponi's friend.
Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruto.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. 1, 2. Let's examine this. Professor Harebrain, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Spot on, exactly correct.
In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Osmond was You can clearly see that Mr. Osmond's wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim.
What? Metal? No! Metal can't... That's not... metal? No!
We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should have also predicted that the metal rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place.
Ah! My hypotheses! My hypotheses!
Professor Harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say. But your hypothesis is clearly flawed.
Ah!
Order! 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 Counsel, what is the implication of this?
If on the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than on stage. In that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit.
But my hypothesis is sound! I proved it that day! The experiment was a success! The experiment was proof of all my work!
If I could say something here in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society,
Yes, juror number 4. Go ahead. As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. And that's a fraud who pretends to be a little man of science.
What? Wait, what? Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect?
It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of them. In other words, the whole demonstration was complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow judges, when I tell you that this man's a heel, a bounder, and a fraud. I say the records of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined.
No! Never! That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis! It's protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act!
What the devil's the Plastic Act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft fool?
I don't like the way this seems to be going. It's the best way for me to help the professor.
Yuri!
Professor Hairbrain has yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so what? Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public? He would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing.
He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money.
Ah!
If the government was foolish enough to have deemed the man's ridiculous notion plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed.
Conspirators? What would be the value of such a grant? £10?
You're an order of magnitude, madam. £500 a year.
Ooh, you can have handsome on that one for years.
The society has noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently.
Yeah, just like in voice acting.
And plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed's plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you.
No, I haven't deceived anyone. Least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound. Science is sound. Please, you must believe me.
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success.
Barak.
And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused.
Barak. Where is this heading? Oh, no idea.
My lord, if I may. Yes, Lord Van Zee. The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand. New witnesses, what was the nature of their involvement? They were spectators of the demonstration of the exhibition, who were occupying special seats.
Eyewitnesses?
Very well. The court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from my witnesses to the incident.
The
prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was not bullshit. The accused killed the financier victim there on this public stage before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend.
Oh, yeah?
It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me?
We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare new witnesses to take the stand.
As you wish, my lord.
Good. In that case, court's adjourned for 20 minutes.
So I'm actually going to save right here. And I am going to drop the save right here. And in the next part, we shall deal with the second part of the trial. So stay tuned more of the Great Ace Attorney 2, The Resolve, right after this.